Welcome to in the series of how to create a welcoming or more welcoming faith community. I'm Pastor Kathleen Panning, and I'm sharing these tips along the way. There's another one here on YouTube, and the first two are on LinkedIn in a written form. So you can find them in those places as well. This one is about have a seat. Well, maybe. There think about with our population, with a lot of baby boomers getting older, and what kind of seating do you offer? It's not just about having a place for a big enough space and enough chairs or pews or whatever you're using. It's about what kind of seating you offer. There are more and more people of all ages who would be coming to a worship facility, a place of worship, a house of worship, if they knew that there was a place where they could sit easily. And what I mean by this is, what about wheelchairs? Many older churches, in this respect, have pews, and they're all the same length, and there may be a center aisle or a center aisle and two aisles on the side, or some sort of configuration like that. But there was never a thought when those buildings were constructed about people being in wheelchairs and being present there. So, what about modifying a couple of pews, cutting them off a little bit, so that there's room in the center for some wheelchairs? And don't just put them at the back. Have places throughout so that those who might be in a wheelchair can see and participate easily too. And this is not just for people who are older. There are people with um, difficulties in mobility of all ages, so including children. So have those kinds of places set throughout your worship space. Now, there's also the issue of, as people get older, sometimes our joints don't work quite so well, and getting up and down makes it more difficult. So if you're sitting on a pew or a chair that doesn't have any arms to it, getting up can be difficult. So what about having some spaces where there are, it may again mean modifying some pews and having some nice looking chairs that have arms on them so that someone who needs a little extra boost to get up can do that easily. And especially, if there's a pew, you might be able to grab onto the back of the pew to do that. But if you're in a chair, grabbing the chair in front of you, you'll have some spaces where there are some chairs or seating with arms on them so people can get up and get themselves up and going. And then there's the issue of kneeling. Now, you may not do that within your worship space. That may not be part of your tradition. But if it is, whether you have kneelers within pews or chairs, or if you're a mosque and that's the normal posture for worship is to kneel, what about those who find that very difficult? And who maybe have had knee replacement surgery or hip replacement surgery, or they have other mobility issues that make it very difficult for them to kneel. How can you create space and opportunity for them to be equally a part of worship, but not have to kneel and or help them get up if they can kneel, but in a way help them with dignity and respect get up. And when I talked about the wheelchairs, I forgot to mention people with walkers. That's another thing, is creating extra space or a place for someone to put a walker, so it's not gonna be in the way, and depending upon what kind it is, it may easily fold, it may not easily fold up, so having those kinds of conversations with your leaders in your faith community is, how can we make the seating in our facility and seating or kneeling in our facility user-friendly to people with all kinds of abilities? That's gonna say, "Hey, you're welcome here, regardless of your abilities and differing abilities and the needs for assistance." So that's my tip number 4 to think about for being a welcoming and a more welcoming faith community. So stay tuned for the next one. It's coming up. I'm not sure exactly when, but it will be coming soon. And you can look in this space, and I'll see you next time.